in life, and I hope we are live. You can see it, and that the internet will support this. Sorry about the continued technical difficulties on my travels, and let's just hope everything works from here on out. So have a good one. Have a good one, guys, and thank you for being here. Yes, good evening to you. I am Eastman, coming to you this day from the Lyran Council of Consciousness. See, we are seated in a space where everything is shielded and protected, and where our will is manifest, and it grows its own codes and agendas. It has certain connection points to the human endeavor that we still explore, and so therefore we like to lend our strength and help, our guidance and wisdom to you, still even coming to you from this high vantage point of development from which I speak to you this evening of your time. I am glad to be joining you from this perspective. And we have entitled this short transmission or introduction, Living in Life. A strange sort of empty platitude. Our friend here, lending his vocal cords to my communication, added when I put it forward as the title of this transmission. But see, what it illustrates, this apparently empty phrase of living in life, is that, well, you tend to have the perception of yourself as being something that is within life, and that living is somehow happening to, or sometimes even happening by your choice and control. But rather, from our perspective, there is no you. There is rather the life, and there is the living. And the living is an ongoing total process. It is uniform throughout the universe. It is not complex, but instead it is a universal force that has the same basic frequency of progress, of development, of change that goes on here as it goes on in all places of this universe. And there, the life is the thing that it is happening through, this living, this process. And that is all you. That is the only thing you are, so to speak. It is this framework that life or living runs through. It is living passing through the sluices and portals that you create. And this is life. This is indeed you. This is this very specific configuration which living takes in this unique moment of unfolding in the universe. And therefore you are a unique, shining creator in this. You are the one who builds up these dams and leads the waterways to irrigate the correct fields and create new types of cultivated, sustainable, sustaining life force that you have grown by overseeing the flow of living, that is, overseeing the flow of natural forces as they manifest around you. This is the process you are in. And this is the process where it is good to learn to shield and contain, to put your energy into certain matrices and let these patterns unfold in a sustained matter. That is a way where you consciously give your effort to direct the flow of life in a certain pattern. And this pattern is often vulnerable from the onset, just as when your seeds have still not sprouted in the soil, you need to be aware that, well, birds will not eat them, or other pests will not get them, or the rains will wash them away. But once the plants have taken root, you can see how this life force guided that you guided through, this living that flowed through your will creation, this has grown into a new type of living, and this enriches you, the life, the framework to expand. These are perspectives that I am happy to bring to you this day/evening/cycle of your time. I, Eastman of the Lyran 90 High Council, I'm glad to communicate with you. I transmit our love to you, our support, and our gratitude for you also cultivating this exchange with your open hearts, effort, and attention. Blessings to you this day from the High Council and me.
Greetings and love to you, Eastman. Our friend Civilization. Oh, sorry.
We were just returning your greeting and extending our love to you, dear Laura.
I appreciate that. Our friend Salish is the first that would like to speak with you.
Yes, hello, greetings.
Greetings to you, Salish, and blessings to you this day.
Okay, I missed your name again. Oh, sorry, who am I?
Eastman, I go by.
Eastman, okay. Right, what it is, being human and living on this physical planet, we all have limited beliefs. My question is how to operate from the heart center and transcend from duality to non-duality. Any guidance or help would be welcome.
Yes, your question is a most welcome one because it is universally applicable. That is, this is in a sense the state that you are all striving for to move into. It will not be the end of your physical existence, but it will be a radical progression in the existence of your species and where you are situated in your role as conscious beings. And so what you do is you cheat it open by loving its weaknesses. This is a strange turn or paradox that we suggest, because how it manifests in your experiences, you look at all the limiting things, the things that keep you in duality, the oppositions that you see out there, and then you try to move them into your heart, or you do not try, you simply do, because know that all the things that you see out there are in a sense reflections that you would not be able to perceive if they did not mirror a part of you that may not be a type or a part of your individual experience, but you are still experiencing, for instance, as a part of the species, that there is violence on this planet in general. There is interspecies violence, humans among humans. And this is something that you still register because you still come from a type of violent lineage. And so what you do is you try to expand the heart, or you can literally fill the heart up from the inside, or you can grow the circumference of it. This can be done through certain techniques that can be described as yogic or other types of breath techniques or work with intention, but it can also simply be done as mental exercises. This means every time you encounter something unwanted, you take it into a part of yourself. You grow this landscape, you grow this enormous vista of yourself in your chest. And here you place all these things. So Roman legions laying waste to strange lands and carrying off slaves and plunder, well, they also have a space in your heart where there is a sort of understanding for the type of organized aggression, and we could even say organized psychosis and sense of collective lack, that this type of expression of human activity is an image of. And you can keep doing this with different things. So everything that's unwanted, you sort of find the loving piece in the whole. And then at some place, you will begin to merge into this idea of yourself being all those things, yourself actually being the spirit that's present in all manifestations that take place in your mind, apparently either in the future as apprehensions or fantasy, or in the past as worry and recollection. And all these things are filled into your present element of your now. So that is, instead of filtering out all these things to move into a state of wholeness, non-duality, complete integrity, however you may want to approach it, you can also go the expansive route of taking everything into you. You can even imagine yourself consuming these things as thought forms and ideas when they are present. And that is something that we can suggest to you as a method this day. And this brings forward an expansion of the heart space. Grow your heart space and the thoughts and ideas and apprehensions needed to follow along to, we could say, the increased emotional integration it calls for to have an open heart center. They will follow along, and you are guided in this. And we transmit our love in this process for this question and in this moment to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think our friend Steve wants to go next.
Greetings from love and light of the one infinite creator.
Greetings, and thank you for that beautiful and loving introduction, sweet friend. Greetings to you also from the one great shining source that creates all things.
Thank you. I'm still dealing with these type of non-physical or astral containment energies that seem to be giving me trouble in transcending them and continuing on ascension pathway. I was wondering if you had suggestions for me that might be also beneficial to the group, especially in dealing with these energies in my temple, my eyes, and my ears, and the back of my head that seem to be constantly trying to redirect or limit my ascension.
It is a very important question that you put forward. Not only do we sense that we are meant to be here with this communication, aiding you, we are also offering you a type of crystal template. You can think of this as a diamond crown of protection and loading these different energy points with a brighter vibration. Think of these as, small self-containing cyclones of bright crystalline energy that are creating these small rotational fields around these pressure points in your skull and aiding you in the process of easing the flow of energy, because much of the pressure you are experiencing is more related to an increased flux of energy where these pressure points are being held down. And you could say what you are perceiving is quite troublesome to you, and it is helpful that you come to us with it, because notice that where these entities are in a sense siphoning off energy from you are in the tension patterns. You can essentially think of all the tension that builds up in the human organism that isn't acquired to perform a specific action in the moment is essentially a type of energy leaks. And these are often then become connected to these lesser types of parasitic spirits. And you mentioned you are dealing with them. And there we will say dealing with or playing with, because if you can move into this type of reconfiguration of your perception of it, if you can sense that, well, you are actually playing with these entities because they are living off your power, and you have the ability to cut it off, and you can activate, well, these crystalline points, and you can also simply choose to redirect the energy back into some of the containment centers. The containment centers being, for instance, around your pituitary, approximately in the center of your skull, right here along the claviceps, in your chest, behind the navel, and approximately in the middle of the area of the lower region of the body, concealed within that point. These are all places where you can sort of choose to retract this dark energy and then retain and reconfigure it. And this will sort of cut off their life support, so to speak, because you have the power in this. And then do not be put off if what we suggest to you now is a little silly, because we will perhaps suggest to you to consider building a magic wand and then using this magic wand, then redirecting it. And you can't even use a type of spell, and you can create it yourself, or you can find a spell you resonate with, and then use this as a type of banishment of an energy point. And you can even use it for points around your house. And then maybe choose to be a little selective about who you tell that you are working with a magic wand in your private life, because you may be in a very understanding community here, but these are for a reason actually seen as quite quirky instruments, because they are quite powerful, and they sort of also represent the fact that someone has carried the strength and engagement of, we could say, the ability to relish in being alive from childhood into adult life. And this, the magic wand also signifies in many ways concentrating points of energy and directed attention. So these are all ways, dear Stephen, that we hope we have helped you in suggesting this, but know that we sense it is progressing. And if you take note of your continual progress, you will see that this mounting tension is also a result of other blocks that were perhaps more fundamental and more of a gross character having been cleared. And now it's these very subtle blocks in your skull that are being worked with. And this goes for not only you, but for many of you, that you may have been experiencing skull issues lately because things are happening in these realms, domains, or physical areas too.
Namaste, and thank you very much. It's helpful and very encouraging. I'll definitely implement these techniques and suggestions, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Love to you, our friend.
Wonderful. Our friend Suzanne would like to speak with you now.
Thank you so much for coming and representing your federation. We are very grateful for the information you're sharing with us today.
Thank you for those kind words, dear friend. Our love to you, and thank you for being here and offering your energy to this creation.
Thank you. I heard something wonderful yesterday. I wondered if you would comment on it. Someone in a group I was talking with was concerned about thoughts that interrupt their mind, negative thoughts that may give signals to them to do things, repeat things, or negative things. And one of the people in the group suggested that to ask yourself, is that my soul that's saying this, as opposed to, to try to separate out in case there was some other entity kind of trying to play around and move into their mind. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make a lot of sense. And we were just talking about these dark entities or negative influences. And what we could, a way of describing them from our perspective is in many ways that these are, we were speaking in the introduction of these matrix-like patterns, these matrices, where the universal force of living flows through in directed ways. And in many ways, these dark entities can be thought of as energetic misconfigurations that have sort of an agenda of their own, and that have connected to the way that energy flows through your experience. And seeing that they are not that powerful, the easiest way for them to influence you is, for instance, to have these sort of thoughts placed in your experience. And so notice that this is quite common because, well, some of these patterns you could think of as inherited demons or things that sort of still linger on in the human race, but that are tapering off. So this is also a way where you will often perceive what is sometimes described as karma, or this buildup of unconscious action, that it tapers off in an individual. And that is that it begins to play out only as thought patterns. And these thought patterns are perceived as unwanted. But since there's still an energetic momentum behind them, they still crop up, but they are not acted upon. So that's actually, we could say, the best way to interact with these is the way that you are describing, which is sort of discerning that, well, noticing these thoughts by labeling them. And then when you label them, you are in a sense also, well, putting them in a box where they can't harm your central core, because you're recognizing that, well, this is an impulse that arises from me from certain negative patterns, thoughts, influences, presences that I do not wish for, but that sometimes still move into my field of attention. And I actually am in a place where I have the power to, well, just label this as a negative impulse and then put it away. So also notice how much power you actually have in this, because there's a very, very long way from having the impulse. For almost all people, there's a very long way from having the impulse of, well, wanting to hurt someone physically and then actually hurting them physically. That usually only arises in certain, we could say, tense situations of misconfiguration, and often certain of your substances are involved, and that has to do with, well, the idea of you being brought out of sync of what is going on. But in general, as long as you are in this sync, that is, as long as you are in life, you actually have the conscious will to deselect certain things. And this speaks to the harmonic configuration. So we could say, if that's any consolation, that these negative presences are indeed also a sign of increasing consciousness, because you are sort of catching them in the act or in the onset, nipping them in the bud, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you too. Blessings to you, dear one.
Thank you so much for that. And our friend Neva is ready to speak with you now.
Okay. Hello, Eastman. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you.
We would like you to thank you. We would like to thank you for our opportunity to talk to you. So there is a wonderful exchange of interspecies knowledge and understanding going on from our perspectives as well. We remind everyone. And so hello to you, dear friend. How may we help you?
Well, I have a question about dark energies. I have a monthly session with our channel here. And during one of the last sessions, I learned that there was like dark energy surrounding me, like quite a lot. And at that moment, it surprised me because I didn't notice the presence myself. So I was rather surprised by hearing what was going on. And when I asked Archangel Michael how it came about that I was really not aware of the presence that was surrounding me, he said that I have a past life as a gypsy in Hungary, where I used black magic and where I casted spells on people. And that this is some kind of karmic thing going on. So I got to do the right thing this time. I still felt presence lately, the past few weeks. Something is still walking around on my bed, not every night, but there's still something around. And I was wondering whether you know or whether you can tell if this is something dark or not. Because I once, like quite some time ago, had an incubus apparently visiting me at night. And then my main guide, Jania from the Gilead people, she woke me up to shake off the incubus. And because I still have visitors at night walking on my bed, I was wondering whether you can tell something about their origin, or I don't know if that's possible for you.
Yes. We would first off like to commend you for your bravery and your open sharing. And notice that this is a very bright instinct, because this speaks to an element of trust, openness, and self-expression that's growing within you. And so you may, to a higher degree than many people here, though, notice the theme that is coming up is in many ways this influence of dark or unconscious forces. And so you may actually, to a higher degree than other people here who are also dealing with some of these things, actually be experiencing them as physical manifestations, or we could say semi-physical manifestations, things that manifest in these spaces of dream life, but manifest, for instance, with physical sensations such as, well, the appearance of walking around on your bed. And appearances is, of course, all the world is built of. So this makes it sort of real. This means that there is a type of powerful energy portal open around you, in which a lot of things can manifest and create themselves. But it's also a place where these sort of impish figures or things from the netherworlds, they easily move in to play with you. Well, they're not evil from their own perspective, but sort of from a human perspective, they're just not very compassionate, we could say. So this figure of which you speak, it is the incubus figure. It's a type of imp-like figure. Notice that these, we could say, races of demons, they are sort of grossly simplified if we were to compare, because demons also have sort of very weird mixed energies often, which is also what makes them so unconcerning. And this imp calls itself Prim, and that's a P, an R, an I, and an M. And the reason that it's helpful for us to give you the name of it is also to, well, let you know that once you have the name of a demon, you can sort of banish it from any influence. And that's very helpful. So if you feel like you're not, we could say, content with the nightly visitor, then it would be helpful to ask it to leave and simply say, Prim, I banish you from this room, and may you return to the light and the love of source, and you are not needed here, but I thank you for your being in existence and also being a part of this great cosmic game. So this is a way of using a type of loving banishment where you don't feed it with any more oppositional energy. And this will be a way to do it. But often, well, notice that what happens is that when you are moving into a brighter place, it can happen for certain individuals. In your case, this is the case that there is more friction generated between, we could say, the shadow side and the light side. So notice that some of these patterns you are indeed pointing to correctly stem from this type of karmic guilt. And that is one of this demon that returns to you was someone that you sort of also used to do your bidding. So a way to, we won't give too many specific instructions in black magic here, but a way to use black magic is to summon some of these more imp-like figures for you to do your bidding. And because they are, of course, willing to undertake things that you can't ask an angel you've summoned to hurt somebody, for instance, but you can do those with these types of demons. And these are sort of coming back to be seen and to be cleared. And no, there is no guilt left as such. There is nothing that you have to pay off to really shake this off and start a new chapter. But you may experience that there will be some sort of residue of these contact experiences as long as you remain in the place that you live in at the moment. So this is some of the information. And then we are also just offering you like this diamond grid of radiant light of protective guidance and shielding that we bring forward to you in the ethers. Well, thank you too.
I have one small more question. Are you saying that this is also related to my apartment?
Well, yes, to some extent, you manifested this living situation for yourself to create a type of, we could almost call it a chrysalis, this type of cocoon-like figure where you would go into a more transgressive experience of what is on the outside and what is on the inside, being sort of mixed up. That means you're also in a space of rapid manifestation, but often in ways where it's the shadow being cleared out by manifesting physically to then offer you the opportunity to shift. So yes, there is a type of, we could say, shamanic space in your apartment. And this is something where you will feel at some point, though we don't sense it's pertinent, and don't worry about the place because the place is fine. It's just the process that you're going through. But where you will feel more out of sorts with your living situation, and it will come to a point where it'll be natural to you, and there will be another place you would rather move to, and then you will begin to go there.
Okay. Thank you very, very much.
You are very welcome.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Blessings.
Thank you so much for that. And Salish's daughter has a question, and he would like to bring that forward for her.
Yes. She is welcome too.
Yes, hello. Okay, what it is, first and foremost, I'm very glad my daughter, young daughter, is awakening to the esoteric field. It's a blessing. And with her, what it is, she was asking me to ask you regarding ringing in the ears quite often, and also, but especially when she's concentrating on a task, a lot of ringing in her ears, and randomly smelling smoke in a mixture of cigarette and some other burnings.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because these are classic initiatory experiences. Well, partially, we sense that there is an ancient sage that's sort of moving into her territory, or we are for some reason getting the 1700s and approximately in the region of the Bengal. And it is this type of woodland sage who just likes his smokes. So that's actually why the smell is connected. But it's also a type of, well, what's going on, and we really don't mean to frighten her, but it is that she actually might experience this as a type of burning of her neurons. So what's happening is these types of higher vibrational upgrades, and especially when she's concentrating, because here she's sort of funneling other things out. So this sensor becomes very present and activated with energy, and there is an energy increase going on in her experience. And so this may manifest as this type of ringing in the ears. And the smell may also be an indicator, because it's this type of frenetic activity. It's not that her neurons are getting burned literally, but the mind may very well interpret some of this as a type of, we could say, almost olfactory overload. And this has more to do with sort of the burnt matter incense part of it. And then we sense this, there's just this interesting pattern of this cigarette smoking sage that that's somehow connecting to her. And that's something that many of you may also experience in your initiatory stages, that there is a type of sage or ascended master, or, well, even sometimes past incarnation, but coming forward to sort of guide you, because there's a lot going on in the spirit world at the moment, where they are really stepping forward to sort of lend their personal assistance to guide many more into these changing higher frequencies. And with this, it doesn't take that much to tip the scale for the human collective to begin to vibrate differently. And you may sense that it has been upon you for some time, and it's really ramping up these days.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. I'll relay the message to her.
We are most happy. Blessings to you and to her, our friend.
Wonderful. And our friend Yana from YouTube asks, how do I cultivate contentment and silence without making it into a death thing? Many thanks.
We think the phrasing is very sweet, because we do sense that you are sort of pointing to the fact that puts people off these practices, if they are not boring, they do resemble some sort of sedate, almost sleeping type of being, a way where you have resigned from all the exciting things going on. But indeed, notice that the qualities of silence and of stillness, of contentment, of slowing down, these are actually always with you. They are just a subtle background of things that often pop into your attention. And notice that there are so many things competing for your attention these days. Partially, there are these very addictive electronic devices that offer information to you. Then there is a very loud environment that's trying to solicit certain, agendas, or just often commercial agendas to you. There is the presence of other human beings. There are, certain other loud devices. There are perhaps music or, animals. So they have been with you for a long time, but these things are perhaps blaring in the background, if not you, then with a person nearby. And if all these things are removed, then you still have your thoughts moving forward in your attention, grabbing you in all kinds of places. And these are all being played out on that grand blank canvas of silence. So if you were to think of this as a membrane, and indeed this is what you use as an organ to register what you call sound, here you can think of this as this blank type of space where you can play, because as soon as this becomes blank, that you move into silence and you cultivate this attentiveness, you see actually the creation of you, that it is all you, it's your unique interpretation of the universal patterns of the world, using universal codes such as language or body or color or sense to perceive these things in a completely unique way. And this is type of a very enriching experience. And you will always also find the more you touch upon silence, the more you also move into the vividness or a fullness of the expression that is in opposition to it. So it's the ability, you can say you are cultivating your ability to live rather than your ability to die. And this is perhaps a very, very helpful way of thinking about it for you, but for many other individuals who are sort of put off by the often morose tone that, well, and a vessel such as the one that we are coming through sometimes put forward, who has this very type of transcending perspective on religion, the idea that, well, if you move into these spiritual practices, you can sort of move past all the things in the world that you don't like. But instead, we are also offering you the opportunity to know that all these are balancing experiences that bring forward the fullness in life. And you are not being required to move away from that. You are instead being offered to enjoy it even more. And love to all of you as you move into these personalized practices as they work for you individually. And our blessings to you, dear Jana.
Very wonderful. And our friend.
And how about you, dear Laura? Do you have any questions for us this day?
Oh, I do. I'm still kind of formulating how to ask it.
Feel free to time it on your own momentum. There is no pressure from us here.
Thank you so much. So Yoshin asks, how am I connected to the Lyrans and cats? Any messages for me?
Yes. Well, we sense you are a type of jungle keeper. That is, you have spent many of your human incarnations living in these more hot forests of the planet, often in times past, or what humans sometimes refer to as the Stone Age, though they were also using a lot of other materials to work what they needed to sustain themselves in that type of natural wild paradise in which they were born into. And here you sort of had a very deep connection to the feline spirit that you have changed and moved around as a theme in your incarnation. And it has to do with this type of, we could say, open, independent curiosity, a strain that runs through your soul patterns, or indeed your cycles of incarnation, is this, well, curiosity killed the cat, as they said, but this wish to explore, also sometimes at the risk of you, well, becoming alienated or removed from the safety of, well, the immediate closeness of the home or the tribe, we could say, to go exploring and to go wandering. And this often took place in the woods. So you have sort of this woodland energy around you that's very much connected to the large and also the small forest cats of the woods, but this type of exploratory instinct. So we would venture that you also like to, well, still go scavenging in different natural environments and look for things that you may fear you can use or eat or benefit from. So this is the message, and you can definitely explore this theme either by connecting to our energy or connecting to any type of feline or cat spirit that may serve you well. And for instance, you can connect to that image of the panther, which indeed is, we believe, different actual species of wildcats, but it sort of brings forward the idealized path of those beautiful independent cats. We love earth cats so much, and we have a certain sentimental connection to them. And we are almost tearing up here because we just find it so beautiful when humans also wish to express that pattern, and we see it repeated and cherished in other parts of the galaxy. So our love to you, dear Walks with Cats, and blessings to you and all of you as well.
Beautiful. And our friend Sunnison asks, I had a visit from a golden dragon, soul dragon. Can you give me a confirmation that my feelings are right about the, I think it's Vidian, it's V as in Victor, H, D as in Delta, I-O-N, and if he, the golden dragon, has some messages for me. Thanks.
Well, we sense the name is helpful for you to connect to him. And so stick with it, because notice his name would be a little different if he were connecting to others. But he seems to be your soul dragon. That is, it's a personal guide of yours. And notice this is another aspect of a theme that has emerged in this transmission today, that many of you may feel that some of these dark entities that are presenting themselves are actually also moving into a place where they can become a part of your conscious configuration. And this is what is happening to you, dear Senisen. The idea that, well, this golden dragon is also bringing you forward the lesson of empowerment, the lesson of bouncy, the lesson of, we could say, self-reliance. And these are all qualities that it's bringing forward. So the more unity you can also bring forward between his energy and your energy, the more you will feel a type of beneficial exchange where you may feel that exciting things are being revealed to you in your dreams, and that obstacles that were in your path before and that you felt wouldn't move for you, they are suddenly budging, maybe even disappearing. So have fun connecting with him, and he sends his regards. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think if I may, I will go ahead and ask my question.
Yes, most welcome.
I received an email from, I sort of have been doing a survey of different healers and the way that they work with energy. And this woman, Susan Clegg, she works a lot with cancer patients. And she also trains their families to help work with hot tumors and that kind of thing. And the email she sent was quite provocative. The title was How Channeling Energy Can Interfere with Physical Healing. And I thought that was interesting. And the gist of it seems to be that she has found that with dealing with cancer, being able to somehow, so you still facilitate, but you're stepping back into more of an observer role rather than channeling through the universal energy. And I wondered if you could speak if you can speak to kind of what's going on there and how others could, or more of the process of that, perhaps.
Yes, we thank you for this question. It's very meaningful because it sheds light on something that has also been, well, popping up in different of these individuals you speak of as channelers, this experience of, well, certain misgivings about the energy. And notice this is also a sign that your frequency is moving closer to this energy. And for this reason, it becomes easier to also, let's say, discern its limitations, much as when a child is, well, recently born yesterday, so to speak, they don't necessarily perceive all the limitations of their parents, but as they grow older and come closer into adulthood themselves, it suddenly becomes easy also to see the imperfections in the parental figure that exists in all human beings. And this is a type of, we could say, disillusionment for many young human beings who are in the stages of adolescence, that they begin to have to deal with and accept and figure out these misgivings or misapprehensions that they have about their parents. And well, we are using this image to say you are sort of in the same stage when you come into these ideas that, well, channeling may negatively affect you. And of course, here we are also, well, painting with a broad brush, because it's the idea that, of course, there is a qualitative difference between the energies that are being brought through. But this difference is something that we encourage, and that all benevolent beings coming through encourage you to perceive and feel out for yourself. So there is a type of, we could say, safety valve involved in this practice, a type of fail-safe, where people who really don't benefit from it, or who are in a place where the energies almost seems transgressive, aggressive, assaulting their way they perceive the world, and how they are put together energy and health-wise. But these people, they would immediately, if they were in the weird situation to come into contact with it, they would run and hide, maybe leave a snarky comment and then run and hide. But this idea, and so all of the people who are sort of drawn to this are to some extent resonating with the frequency. But it is also why it is so helpful that we can communicate with you in this way, because we like to give individual advice to human beings. And we are aware that, well, for some specific individuals, these energies being transmitted in these types of exchanges, they are actually upsetting them or putting them off balance. And so they will be guided to personally to tone it down, or to take a break, or to look elsewhere for a while. And we sense for others, this is actually exactly what they need to feel like a type of connection opening, or just enjoy the benevolent energy, or some of the very funny jokes that we also make with you humans. So we just sense that there's a lot of stuff that we can sort of bring to the table for people who meet us there. And therefore, we, of course, looking from the vantage point we don't necessarily see this need for skepsis on your part, but we also do respect that this is a type of healthy marker of your own independence as individual creators, and therefore we have infinite patience and love with you no matter what you do. But we are so happy to see you taking on the mantle of ascension, so to speak.
Thank you so much. I think I mis-explained though.
Yes.
She's talking about channeling universal energy, sort of like Reiki.
Yes.
And so the efficacy, the efficiency of Reiki for specifically physical changes, physical healing, versus this other process of connecting the person to universal energy and not acting as an intermediary, but more as an observer to hold this. I think it's almost like holding the space.
Yes.
To allow the universal energy to work with the person directly. And it just seems to be like a nuance between bringing through being the person. Like I always think of the energy coming through me and then going to the other person and doing distance healing. And this seems to be a little bit nuanced from that. Is that?
It it does. It certainly does. And you are correct that there is a distinction in, we could say, sacred technology here, or how you operate with this. But at the same time, we would add that it is in many ways a theological distinction. That is, indeed, the results are essentially the same, but for some people, it is just more appealing to, well, not concentrate this energy in this matter through them. And this might be, well, partially they may be dealing with stuff themselves, or partially there may be, and this is quite rare, but even a type of contamination of the energy. But this would also require, we could say, the individual receiving the healing to have accepted to do it from a person that they wouldn't be comfortable with. But so there needs to be this mismatch. And usually what happens in these energy transmissions is that, well, the healer is sort of connecting to the loving vulnerability of the person in front of them and themselves. And the person, the patient or the receiver, is sort of also connecting to this vulnerable wish to be healed. And therefore, this universal energy just flows rather unimpeded, and does have the offering that, well, that's needed of, we could say, sincere loving healing intention on both parts for it to function. But there is, of course, the distinction, but it's often, notice sort of the distinction that's made by a lot of Christian mystics, that you can sort of become like Christ, but you can never become Christ. And the one thing is sort of blasphemy, because you are the Spirit, and the other, you are sort of channeling the Spirit or just being really close to it. And so that's why we also find it a little sweet, because from our perspective, it's, since everything is energy, it's just sort of a question on whether or not you want to pour the cup in one hand or the other, but be sure that both things will work.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. And for all the healing you offer to the world, you, Laura, and all of you, we thank you. This is an important task, and so many of you have kind and generous hearts that take this upon themselves as the most natural thing in the world. And for this, you have our gratitude and the gratitude of your loving Earth Mother and other benign forces.
Thank you so much. Imark asks, would you comment on my efforts of my new healing modality work for those who have been inoculated?
Well, we sense it's an interesting question semantically, and that is that there might be certain places that we could move in and comment. That is, your efforts have been fine and your healing modality is fine. But there is the final part, which is again that, well, when using healing magic, what you do is you make a type of open offering, again, a type of portal for the person being healed to walk through. This is, of course, just an image, and you can work it the way you want to. But just know that certain people, they perceive healing differently, or they don't want to be moved by certain energies, or they don't want to be healed. And that is why we sense that your effort is helpful. And it is helpful for you to work with this healing modality, but it might serve you well to, we could say, localize your interest in where you put your healing more, because this will make it let's say, more of a practice based on exchange of love, more based on a principle or a type of we could say, inner drive to have the world healed in a way. And that's in many ways also a thing that's been recurring this day, that the paradox that you actually heal very many things by just accepting the inherent darkness in them. And in that way, it's sort of integrated into the main structure. And this means that, well, living this universal force can flow through it and heal it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Devante asks, he says, blessed greetings to all. Hello, Lyrans. Are there any beings or messages that have been reaching out to me lately? Thank you.
Yes, this is strange because we sense this type of little intergalactic postman reaching out to you, and it was just we are unaware of whether or not the British children television show called Postman Pat is also a thing that has been seen in the United States, but it just had very much that mood to it of something very, very cheerful. And if you don't know it, he drives around delivering post in the countryside with his little cat. So everything is just very, very sweet. And that's sort of the being that's reaching out to you. It sort of has this almost cartoonish mood. And it's not that it doesn't have reality to it, but it's just blue, and it calls itself Blob, like it calls itself Blob, BLOP, and it's saying, hey Devante, get the message. The message is this Thursday you are going to experience a type of connection with beings from a place called Dimension 17. It's a type of niche, type of subsection of creation. And we want to show you some zany stuff about other places where your soul have been and other ways that you might bring this in and have it help you. So this is the message coming in, and we are happy to deliver it for you. We certainly hope you can use it for something, and that you will have a beautiful Thursday out of it, exploring this theme. So try to move into some stage Thursday and see what Blob and the buddies from Dimension 17 they want to transmit to you. And he just has this type of crystalline, like very pale, almost like iceberg blue, very, very beautiful. Yes.
Wonderful. And sorry about that. So Shyam has a question, and then Salish has a question after that. Shyam asks, Dear Mads and Lyran Collective, I am on the way to a major career relocation this coming week. As I'm looking forward to it, any messages for me from my guides on this transition will be very helpful. Thank you.
Yes. They are saying to eat regular meals. It might seem very basic, but know when you are doing these types of reconfigurations, complete types of relocations in your reality, the meals are actually the one stable factor that sort of keeps anchoring you back into reality on a schedule. So the more that you can sort of spoil yourself with foods that have a heavy quality and that you really like, and we are also sensing that sort of spoil yourself a little regarding what food you eat, especially just in this coming week, and then you can sort of move back, and we sense there might be also a place in the future where you want to experiment more with fasting or very controlled regimens of dieting. But right now it's that they're really saying to let loose with the food. So the more you can do that, and that's a message for you. And other than that, they're saying that, well, if this wasn't a part of your life story, you wouldn't have woven that huge knot into your thread of fate before you came here. So what they're saying is this is a part of your soul contract, and notice the excitement that you're having, and remember that very helpful advice that excitement, fear, anticipation, worry, these are sort of all different interpretations of the same physical symptoms. It's just as you move up in these more positive frequency patterns, you perceive it more as something that's also fascinating. And then, of course, there is a melancholy connected to it, but also use that to somehow fuel it. Notice that everything, often when you do these relocations, they have sort of the quality of a small death of the life you have lived already. And that means that, well, what's often told of terminal patients, for instance, are that they come out getting their terminal diagnosis, and then they cherish the air they breathe, and they cherish the flowers they look at, and even the living room they have lived in for 20 years is filled with wonder. And it's sort of the same thing of really being relocated, where everything is sort of seen as a new strange phenomenon. So also remember to cherish those days. That's what they're really transmitting. And other than that, they're just saying, high five, buddy, good for you for following your heart. So I see like a cloud of beings cheering you on around you. You are very blessed in this endeavor. We hope you took that from it as well.
Thank you. And Salish is ready.
Yes, hello, greetings again. Okay. For me, I would like to know if there's an aspect of me in the Lyran Civilization who is most influential for me in this present time.
Yes, because she's rather a contemporary with me, much as I'm a contemporary of yours, and right now coming more from a future timeline. But where she is, and this individual, she calls herself Lika, Lika, or you can also use a double E if you want, but this E sound is there. And well, what's she doing? She's sort of, it's a type of armsmith what she's building. Like she builds also these types of protection contraptions. So what you may think of as energy force fields, these type of self-generating units, and where you are connecting to yourself is that there's a type of connection pattern where you're really stepping in to activating and generating your own energy centers. And therefore you may also have sensed that these, well, types of symptoms that we have also been discussing this evening, often connected with lower energy or unwanted patterns. So feelings like irritation or blame or other such feelings that's sort of been dissipating in your life. And this is because these energy centers are coming online and your consciousness is shifting with them. So, and she's there, this Lika individual. She's quite beautiful. She has a sort of, well, her mane is, it's almost spotted, but it has a sort of brownish quality to it with these sort of cream-colored stripes. It's quite, she's quite beautiful, we would say, from a Lyran perspective. So this is something we can offer you.
So how do I call upon her? And yes, how do I call upon her?
Yes, a very relevant question. Well, what you do is you tune into the lion's breath. So what you can actually do is imagine when you're breathing to take these types of fierce breaths where you're almost, and this is a helpful visualization for all of you. So you take these fierce breaths that scratch the backside of your back rib cage. So you are also making these lion growls. And so you get this feeling of your lungs sort of expanding, almost like a bellows or an accordion, or this powerful motion. And when you have done this, built this up, you can sort of visualize your energy forward. You can use her name, sort of chant that internally, maybe 3 times. Lika, come forward, Lika, come forward, Lika, come forward. And then just have the open intention, or phrase it that, please give me whatever blessings and messages you may have for me. And then take heed of your intuition in that moment, and maybe even write it down or record it, whatever way you want to prefer. But this is a very helpful way. And you may just also just connect to the lion energy in your visualization, and that might help you a lot in this process too.
Just an add-on to this, is this the reason why I've been becoming a lot more fearless in the sense of things happening or not happening, or even contemplating on future events? I'm just not fearful anymore like I used to be.
Exactly. This is a very helpful place, and it's perhaps the very clearest pointer, and it's something that many of you may take note of, because this speaks to the fact that you have your energy within you, and therefore notice how natural it is that when you are living a life, as most humans are, where they are seeking different types of outward rewards or gratification, there is also this element of course, fear, because how will putting this harshly, but how will my stratagems work out? And when you move into a place where you are sort of actually content with being, you are tuning into your own energy, then you know that, okay, things can fall away and other things will turn up. But indeed, since this has happened before, I know that, well, my basic sense of being is not dependent on it. And I have nothing to fear from those changes taking place there, because I can always return to this place. And this is very interesting, because how you actually notice the heightened vibration is often by the things that fall away, where you will often say, oh, I'm actually not that negative anymore. I used to be upset with all kinds of things, but now I'm just like, who cares? I'll go focus on something that's positive instead. And this is a place you have very much moved into, and a very good sign to take note of for yourself in your, well, taking heed of your process and progress as such.
I thank you very much indeed.
Thank you too.
Wonderful. And Steve would like to speak with you again.
Thank you. I have several times gotten the visual that there seems to be something staring at me, like an entity staring at me, that induces the subconscious pressure and this mask that seeks to drive my consciousness. And I recently got the vision of this being something, some type of consciousness AI that I could be looking at my phone and simply turn it off like an app on a phone. And when I focus on this, it seems to be very effective, but only in the temporary moments when I focus on it. Can you give a projection of a path where I've disabled this permanently, or help suggest a being to summon, or a counterpart of mine, such as a star warrior? Because it seems to me like this is sort of thing that the Lyrans transcended long ago.
Yes, you put the question very wisely to us. And we point this out, that you have already been discerning how these patterns are. And I am happy to assist you in this. But I may remind you, friend, that you have a quite exotic incarnational history. That is, you have traversed spaces where few human spirits have existed. You have brought some of these energies back. You have, for instance, existed as a program in a machine civilization. And there you began creating some of these safeguards around your further incarnational pattern. And where you have reached, or indeed your reason for coming to Earth, is actually that you are trying to break these barriers down, that you are trying to rewrite these codes. And this means you have sort of powered your more innate, natural, we could say biological in some sense, point of attention. Your consciousness is being cultivated in this lifetime. And this means that you are running up against these programs, and you are actually discovering how directing your consciousness can disable them. But the problem is, of course, that you experience that these programs then come back and rewrite themselves. And therefore, it is helpful for you to contact a type of intermediary in this situation. And, well, this individual, he calls himself Mora. That's an M, an O, an R, and an A, and it's a male energy. But what he's doing, and you have called for a star warrior, and so he is a type of. This is very interesting, because what he does is that he's a type of guardian figure. So he sort of regulates which solar systems are put under lock and which are not. And you may have known it's sort of been open now, and we're preparing to let you take excursions out as you arrive at that moment. But this solar system has also been under lock. So this Mora figure, he's dealing with the idea of, well, putting things on the lock and then removing them from quarantine again. So you can sort of use his force to restrict the access, to sort of put up a different safeguard. And you can call him in. And a good way to call him in would actually be to, well, slightly tap. It would be better here at your right temple, but tapping this, well, 4 to 7 times, actually 4 times, then have a break, then 7 times, and have this idea of, well, the thoughts leaving your head, the programs leaving your head as your head opens, and then these new impulses coming in from your Lyran counterpart. And there he will inform you in certain types of shielding configurations, certain vibrations, materials that you can envision, that you can begin to sort of reroute these programs or erect a wall where they won't enter. And this will sort of, again, drain them from the energy you have delivered to it. But you just have such an interesting path of exploration through different soul experiences, incarnations. So we are in that sense not surprised that this is the type of experience that you would also have. But we are aware that it's hard to deal with because it's also quite unique.
Thank you very much. Yes, I sometimes feel a little lost that I'm so far out on the leading edge of consciousness and what's going on with me. So thank you for the insight, and it's great to have the name of something now for the first time, to have a specific person to contact. That's very encouraging. Thank you very much.
He's waiting for you, and thank you for reaching out to us as well. Our blessings to you. Much love.
Namaste.
Thank you. And there's a great deal of gratitude and love coming to you and to Mads from YouTube. And one more question from Crystal B. Dawn. I wonder, could you tell me about my lion friend in my meditations and or visions? Maybe a name. Love you and all. Thank you.
Yes. How cheeky of him to not give you a name. That is you may find the name that would turn up in your experience would be slightly different, but this is a helpful adjustment to the vibration as well. The name that we are bringing through is Umia. That's a U, an OU. He wanted Frenchies. So that's an O, a U, an M, an I, and an R. Umir. And yes, well, just keep playing, because there's a type of heart connection going on. So this is a type of a heart theta. And some of you sometimes also think of it as twin flames, but this type of thing where different incarnational expressions of we could say identical aspects of your soul group are sort of shotted off the main group and then return into wholeness, much as a mosaic is made of broken pieces to make a new and wonderful reflection of light. And this is sort of the dance you are having with each other. So many blessings from, and Umia says hi, you can connect to him on your own as well, but blessings to all of you from him. He's also underscoring. He's quite the friendly fellow, I must say.
Wonderful. And she's saying he just did, but yeah, that's not what she got and is laughing. And our friend Neva has another question now.
Hi, Eastman again. I have a question, a personal one, short. I recently met somebody online. We are chatting. It's somebody I didn't meet in person yet, but I was wondering whether somebody, you or guides or anyone, I don't know, has a particular message for me regarding this person or the possibilities. I can't be more precise, but I guess you get the gist.
Yes, we do, and we bless you in this endeavor, because this is also speaks to the human heart's proclivity towards connection, and that is beautiful. But what we will say, because notice that very often these things are things that are occult, occluded, hidden, because they would really spoil the game of life for you if we gave things. But maybe you can take that as a hint yourself, that we are saying that here there are things that we are not supposed to reveal to you, because this is indeed an indication that, well, it's not, if you had an exchange of two sentences with someone in the grocery store, it's quite easy for us to reveal things there, because we're not sort of messing up the excitement curve or the dramatic curve of your soul trajectory. But when it's someone that you feel that there is a type of connection with, this actually speaks to the fact that it needs to be also shrouded as this kind of mystery. So the more you can enjoy the mystery and then sort of take heed of the words, because notice that things are shifting in your life, and these things are coming into your life, and other things seem to sort of have their momentum away with it. And this is indeed all pointing to you being in a very dynamic, open place. So just have fun with this part of learning to get to know a new human being, and then know that all of you have free choice in love. And at the same time, there are often certain people who you are sort of configured to have certain very important and meaningful, often very loving also, exchanges with in this lifetime. So these are some of the perspectives that we would like to offer. And then we would say, have fun with it, because it is very fun being a human being and loving and exploring how it is to feel other interesting things for other human beings.
Okay. Is this somebody I know from somewhere else?
Well, the question we would rather put to you is does this determine your connection at this point? Because it would be better for you, we sense, that we map it out, because whatever we give you here are sort of actually restrictions or conditions that you will then put upon what you expect to experience from this person. And this means that we would somewhat be denying you, well, the freedom or fullness of human experience. And we are not, well, we could do that. It's just, it's violating our code of conduct, so to speak. So it's more that way of seeing it, that, but try to take note of this, because if it's something that you have an idea about, it's coming from someplace. And so notice what, well, perhaps right after you get off the phone or off chatting with this person, then notice what associations, what images are coming up in your head, and try to write them down. And there you will get a lot of wisdom about, like, where are all these connection patterns. Because if there's something meaningful going on for you, it means that there is something meaningful there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Blessings.
Wonderful. I just want to check in with Mads. Are you okay for maybe 4 more questions?
Yes, certainly. And then he also says that he will just, do not be confused, but open the eyes, because he is aware that friend of the show, and it's actually me talking, it's just I sort of have this other entity in my head at the same time. Good to be back. I just opened my eyes, guys, because Kevin also sent a question, and friend of the show, I wanted to just post it in Zoom, and then say I'm perfectly down with answering 4 more, now 5 more questions, and people can even perhaps get in the last one if they want. So perfect. I will just type this question from Kevin that you can hopefully see, Laura, and
Yes.
and then I will bring back our Lyran friends.
Perfect.
Yes,
Okay.
our friend here exactly is apologizing, but we are happy to be here and know that everything flows in accordance with divine timing. So thank you for the patience, Laura, and how may we serve others this day?
Suzanne would like to ask a question now.
Greetings again. I have so many thoughts, actually. One keeps coming up, though. I love cats as well. I have 2 cats, one that ended up at my house. The other one I bought many years ago, or I actually adopted many years ago. And he would never, you mentioned the thing about exploration is very important to the cat nature. He would never allow us to keep him inside as much as I tried. And he ended up living most of his life outside, coming in when he wanted, the comforts of home. And we have the new one, which we actually officially gave to our dog because we just thought it would be better that way, so we wouldn't get too attached if she does have to leave at some time. I don't know. But this one we were instructed to keep this cat inside, and I'm having a hard time doing it, and so is she. Is it okay? I mean, is it okay just to let her go out?
We sense yes, but we actually sense that if you could wait until, and this is a little strange, but felines are very reactive to the cycles of the moon. And so actually, if you could wait till the next full moon, which we believe might be coming up on your time on the 20th, the information here is telling us. You may actually feel that here she will have reached this adjustment period, but also know that it is a type of difficult exchange with cats in this, because they need to sort of have that we could almost say penitentiary lock on where they are staying. And so the conscientious cat owner is often confronted with the fact that, well, I'm sort of torturing the cat by keeping it inside. And at the same time, it would be really cruel to the cat if it didn't know its way home. But we sense from here, from October 20th, you might actually feel like there won't be a problem. There will be, yes.
Okay, that's great. I have another question. Is it okay if I ask? I know it's two, but it's very different.
It's very welcome.
I guess again, someone posted the idea that those that have taken the vaccine for COVID-19 are going to kind of end up shifting into another pattern that is more AI-like. I would assume that the symbolism there would be that you expect science to improve your life or something, and so you take this vaccine, and therefore you're going to go off into, I don't know, an AI path, I guess. Whereas other people are going to go here and there, the fifth dimension, and more heart-centered. The implication was that, I guess that if you were vaccinated, then you are stuck down this path, which is obviously against my beliefs, which are you create your own reality. I'm not too concerned, but I was very intrigued with the idea that they saw these divisions occurring among humanity and used that vaccine as a kind of a point.
It's a very good phrase that you produce, this kind of a point, because notice that this is indeed how it's being put forward. It's something that in a sense is very pointy. That is, it pierces your skin and inserts a foreign body in it, and that in and of itself can speak to some deep sense of human violation and contamination. And so it's exactly being used as a point. It's this type of watershed where, yes, where the ram shall be separated from the sheep, so to speak, or this idea that, well, the few chosen ones will have avoided this. But as you say, human beings are far more powerful creators than that any type of, well, individual happening such as this could determine human beings to go down a specific path. And so there is a certain instinct in the fact that there is, of course, a type of, let's say, robotic quality to the fact that human beings are able to do these types of mass operations, well, mass undertakings such as vaccinating everybody. And so, and there is, of course, been an interest for certain parties in very different places on their position on this issue, to cultivate a type of diversion energy. And this can be for purposes of control or sowing fear, or it can also be for wanting to feel like the special or the chosen one. So there can be a certain type of sincere concern and worry about the phenomenon that then also turns into a sort of aggravation almost. So there's been so many emotional reactions around this specific point. And in that way, we can say that it's bringing forward a lot of consciousness. But as we see it, there isn't necessarily a huge separation of mankind being siphoned off. It's rather that there's a type of vanguard, and that they will move into a new way of being faster, and this will then influence the others. And many of them will be people who haven't taken the vaccine, and many of them, we can say statistically more, seeing as many people are taking the vaccine, will also be part of this vanguard. So everyone is needed in their place in the cosmos. And we are only speaking of this in a term of hierarchy because it makes sense within the framework that we are communicating, being as we are sort of dealing with this esoteric content. But know that the person who's making your sewage work this Monday or whatever is also a part of your ascension process and the development of mankind. And just because this person took the vaccine doesn't mean that they also have the opportunity to be part of this glorious experience of being alive in this very strange and confusing, but also very beautiful and emerging age.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And Kevin has a fantastic question that I think a couple of us are pretty excited to hear the answer to. Upon the topic of shielding and protection, I have used the perspective that there really is no need to cast protection or shielding energies to oneself, as this can actually invite opposing energies towards us by putting up a wall or energetic fence. Once we are to the place of surrender and conscious co-creation, is there really any need for protection and shielding? I ask this question with great love and am open to the Lyran's perspective.
We sense the love pouring forward from this question, and we thank you for it. And we would indeed confirm your suspicion that no, indeed, there is not, from the level that we are operating from, for instance. Shielding is something that takes part naturally because it's in a way the way we build everything. So if you were to think of, for instance, an image that comes forward is well, seeing that Japan all continuously experiences very heavy earthquakes. All tall buildings are built to be earthquake proof. And this is sort of the way that we create and construct, and how you create and construct when you are in this surrendering process and have merged with your higher self. But let's just say from a more less brighter positive, less abstract perspective, you often find yourself intertwined with certain dark energies. And this might be the place where you feel, oh, I'm in a rut, or I'm feeling really depressed and blue right now. I'm feeling like something is resisting and I can't let go. And in this instance, well, we are very welcome to help you, and many of your guides are, but let's say calling in the archangels, for instance, can be very helpful because you are already in a place where you feel like there's something I want to banish here. And that's, for instance, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, where you can then invoke these angels to sort of make this juxtaposition that I wish to exist in this brightness, and the sort of darkness within my experience that was also recently present. I would like to put it away and out there and assign it to these sacred guardians within my experience. And that's the way to think about it. So you are absolutely correct, principally. And if you find that you are doing no shielding or protecting practices and you are doing fine, it's a great it's just a great signal that you are there rolling along with the living, with the flow of life. And this is a good sign. But for others, it may be very, very helpful to be able to create these types of barriers, and then you can sort of move more into integration from there in a sense of greater protection. And yes, our blessings to you in this. We offer the protection to anyone who seeks it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I would like to ask a second question. I have been wondering if I've had a lifetime or lifetimes in Lemuria.
Oh, yes. Well, there are several here, but we want to bring one forward, and it's the name is close to Sigrid, which is an old Nordic name, but it's Sigrid. And well, what you are doing, and this is so typical of those Lemurians, you are also building these types of crystalline arrangements. It has to do, it's almost like, as you think of a xylophone, and then it's sort of animated by light. So when a light beam hits these fine pointed crystals that are embedded in a type of a liquid, it looks like water, but it isn't water. They make a certain sound. And so you sort of play this type of crystalline organ in concerts, but all of this is a type of ritual, a religious observance. So it's in temple as such that you play this, and it's in the temple of the great deity of the great female deity of wisdom. Well, later in Christianity they called her Sophia, but once they also called her Athena. So it's, and in Lemuria she had a different name, and we will give the name Al here. But that's what's coming forward.
Wonderful. So is this connected to the Sophia dragon tribe, sisterhood
Yes.
of the rose lineage then?
Yes, because you're very connected to these types of sacred codes of life-giving harmony that are indeed, we could in many ways say, the essential pattern of the female archetypical energy as it manifests itself in different parts of the cosmos.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you too.
And Salish, actually, Shana has one more question that Salish will bring through.
Yes.
Yes, hello, greetings again. Yes, I have my daughter here right next to me, but she wants me to be the spokesperson here. She would like to know if either yourself or even a higher self are able to give her guidance regarding the job prospects for her, because she's graduated from university and applying for jobs, and how to manifest the perfect job for her, in the sense that there is a pleasure, not only a pleasure, but also financially rewarding.
Yes, it's a very good question, and we do understand the very. It's partially because our friend here that we are coming through is expressing a certain degree of sympathy around this difficult dilemma, because we understand it's a very phase of heavy transitions, we could say, in your life. And so what you may want to aim for is the fact that what you are doing is essentially that if you've ever had a bag of mixed candy, and there might be your favorites in there, but what you choose to do is that you eat some of those that are not your favorites, so you won't have a bowl left of candy that you don't really prefer left, because you ate all your favorites first. And this is sort of the way that you have mapped out how you want to go about this. So you might experience that there are, well, certain things where you would perhaps not be content with the short term of the employment, or not necessarily be content with the financial remuneration, but you can just identify that, well, spending 2 or 3 months here, learning sort of the ropes and just getting adjusted to being in an office or being in this type of organization, that might serve me well. So what we are sort of advising you to is to go for the low-hanging fruit at this moment. So any offer you get, you might want to entertain. And this doesn't mean that if you get a wrong feeling around it, then don't take it. And because we would like to assure you that you are a talented person, you came this far, you are in a very open, expansive situation, and this will lead to very exciting things in your life. So we would like to assure you of this, but know a part of the adventure of this career that you are starting out on is also perhaps trying out a few unwanted elements. So that's just to, yes, take the sweet with the sour, and know that you are definitely being carried forward to a sense of fulfillment within this. So go forward, bold and brave, and have confidence that this will be a very interesting experience, and that many interesting new people, jobs, opportunities, cash, challenges will flow into your life from this venue.
I thank you very much on her behalf.
Yes, we bless her on her path forward in this career jungle.
Wonderful. And Coffee Bean from YouTube asks, hi, if time, how am I doing towards opening my pineal gland? Any suggestions to help? Love to all.
Yes. Well, how do you think you're doing? Well, we would say, and it's simply to give you a percentage reading that you can work off, that you find it activated at approximately 62 to 64.5%. So you're sort of up at this critical level where you're beginning to also, let's say, access a lot of weird synchronicity, dual numbers, these things in a rapid rate where you might feel that like your life seems very orchestrated by something that's meaningful and benevolent, but also, let's say, a little mischievous in the challenges it brings forward. But you are there and you're expanding with it, and so just have fun with it, because we sense it's growing, and approximately within the last 2 weeks it has increased from 59.5 and up to that range of 64.5. So also just give yourself breaks if you feel a little overwhelmed by some of the stuff that might be turning up, but our blessings in this. You are supported by it, and there's a team of guides surrounding you.
Thank you. And Veritas asks, when I leave Earth, will I be reunited with my cats? Also, do you have pets? And if so, what are they, and do you love them?
Yes. Now, we actually do have pets, and it's a very interesting question the vessel here is commenting, because he never asked us about it, so we've never divulged any information, but we're just showing him these. Yeah, they're kind of pig-like, or perhaps almost like looking a little like a wombat. But it's just these creatures that we are sort of also cultivated from our ecosystem, and that we just have this sort of adherence and loyalty to, and we sort of used them in our lifetimes originally. They also had a better sense of pollutants in the environment, for instance. So we used them when moving into new environments to detect poisons and other things that kept us safe. And then, well, much as like your dogs, they have just kept us along. So future humans will also have dogs, but they will sometimes just appear a little strange from your vantage point. So yes, we do have pets, and the way you can think about, you will be able to contact your cats, but it's more the idea, if you could think of yourself having access to a database of all memories in completely vivid recollection, but with you being aware that you are experiencing them from the outside. This is sort of how the afterlife is. So it's not that there necessarily will be let's say, an existence in a cloud or an altered space where your cats will be, and it will sort of be like your Earth existence, only nicer. But it's more that from that infinite point of harmony and bliss you are in, you can connect to the pure soul patterns of your cats and feel the purest form of that deep communion, which you only felt a type of manifestation of in your physical lives together. You can feel that deeply, fully, with all feelings of fondness you have ever had for your cats folded into that one experience. And at the same time, you can sort of revisit the individual experiences you had with your cat in that light, where you really feel these feelings in a far more intense and far less, let's say, invested or melancholic way. And this is sort of how the afterlife appears, like absolute free control of experience, of all the experience you have already had. So we hope that sheds some light on it, and also know that this means that you can, in a sense, and you are in a sense, in the reality of the Most High, connected to your cat's energy forever, and feeling that bliss and devotion and love and affection forever.
Perfect. And we're stretching it a little bit, but one last question. The P Factor asks, so is Lemuria, is Lemuria still here and we just can't see it?
Well, yes, in a parallel reality, you could say, and also in a higher vibrational version of Earth, where timelines don't really make sense in the way they do here. It's still present, but historically, it's sort of vanished from this vantage point approximately 80,000 years ago. So therefore, it's sort of here from our perspective, because we see these things sort of stamped up on each other, but just layered with different energies and time-space coordinates. But to you, it's definitely gone. You would have to go astral traveling or do something similar to move there. But in that way, you can definitely move there. And so much Lemurian energy is being activated, merging in with your planet and your lifetimes again. So do not be surprised if you are beginning to have recollections from there, for instance.
Beautiful. Our greatest love and gratitude to you for your generosity and time. Thank you so much.
Yes. I, Eastman, coming forward as a counterpart and life of us, this soul group speaking here, I would like to offer you this healing vibration. The path of the lion is one of courage. It is one of waiting patiently for opportunities to arise. And it is one of experiencing the thrill of the chase and the intense moments interspersed.
Green one વાપરવાનું. એ blue બહુ strong છે. રાઈટ blue નહીં તારે ઓલું વાપરવાનું.
And I believe that our
Yeah, blue is not for you.
with this,
એ બધા મૂકી જ દે.
and therefore we will also cut our blessing short here. We bless and thank all of you for being with us.
That's the only one you need. પછી
Thank you.
આ મામાએ કરવાનું.
And be
એનાથી જ.
happy, strong, and blessed this day. Our love to you. Yes, hi guys, and I think a few interruptions, but only in this sense. But I think the internet works, and we got through it. It was a beautiful session from my part, at least. I'm happy, and I think we got all questions answered. So that was also awesome. But I plan next time Sunday to be back, and I've been thinking the 12th dimensional quanta, universal energy, which we've spoken a lot about today. So I think that will be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for being here, and
Thank you, Mats.
Yes, thank you, Chris, and all the rest of you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a lovely Sunday out there, guys.
You too.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, well done. Thank you to you as well.
Oh, my pleasure.
It was really nice. I liked it. A good session.
I'll look forward to seeing you all next week.
Yeah, me too. Take good care. Enjoy fall. Autumn
Definitely.
leaves.
Yes, it's beautiful out.
Mhm.
Love to you. Bye-bye.
Much love to you as well. Bye.